name is Jamie Dement, and I am the director of SC Tech with SC Competes. And we're really excited to bring you our second round of Cap Carolina webinars. This was really brought up with me talking to a ton of tech entrepreneurs throughout the state and learning that sometimes it's hard to put your head up as you're innovating and creating and not knowing what are all the potential opportunities for resources and funding in the state. And so we wanted to kind of give an opportunity to kind of have almost a speed round of what we have here in the state. So this is part one. Part two will have 8 different speakers. So if you haven't registered for the second, I highly encourage you to do so, as it'll be 8 brand new people that will be talking about 8 other different resources and throughout the state. So welcome and thank you for joining us. I will going to start with kind of just doing a quick overview of SC Competes. So if anyone is not familiar, I can kind of go over that. And again, just a quick housekeeping for the new people that arrived. If you do have a question, just drop that in the chat box and we're going to hit those all at the very end after all of our speakers. So thank you so much. All right. So if you're not familiar with SC Competes, we are a nonprofit business-led organization that supports the advancement of our industries of aerospace, logistics, and technology and cybersecurity. And we do that through many different type of initiatives and groups. So it's everything from today, technology, to how we support logistics and aerospace. But some things that people might not be aware of is the deep work that we do in applied research, in AI, as well as advanced air mobility and Transform SC. And this is kind of my way of saying, if you are only familiar with SC Tech, or maybe only familiar with SC Aerospace, spend some time on our website to learn about all the different resources that we are able to provide and learn a little bit more. Where we work is 3 different buckets. And I'm going to touch a little bit on each one of these buckets this morning real quickly, just for you to kind of get a piece. And the hope is that each one of these buckets somehow could help an entrepreneur. I want to kind of give it that lens today specifically. Actionable research, that is our studies that we do. It is data. We are trying to make sure that everybody is aware of what's here in the state for aerospace, logistics, technology, and cyber, who's here, and who can you connect with to hopefully grow your business and be able to stay competitive in the state and throughout the country. We do a lot of work in industry cluster support. So I kind of like to say we're Switzerland of South Carolina. We like to put the right people in the right room for the right conversations to advance your work and the state's work in our clusters. And lastly, but definitely not least, is our workforce innovation. We do a ton of work to make sure that the pipeline of talent that is coming out of K through 12 and higher education is the right workforce that's going to fit the jobs that we have in South Carolina. I'm not going to go into all of the stuff that we are doing in education. That would be a whole other webinar on its own. But again, really excited about the work we're specifically doing in AI right now, and AI curriculum development, as well as robotics. And I put this slide up here to say, if you are looking to get connected and want to support or help at all in anything that is AI curriculum or tech curriculum based, reach out to me or Kim Christ or Bunny Ward. All of our information is on the website. We have so many opportunities to bring industry knowledge to the table, especially in AI, robotics, and technology right now. So I really encourage you to kind of learn more about what we're doing and reach out if you have any questions. In the actionable research area, we lead the impact studies for aerospace, logistics, and technology. And as an entrepreneur, I definitely recommend spending a little bit of time and looking over these impact studies. Learn who's here, the needs, who can you get in front of that you might not realize are large industries in the state. Sometimes there's companies in the area that you're not aware of, and they could be a great client or a great partner. So I always say, even if you're a small company growing, spend time on these impact studies and learn a little bit and see if there's ways for us to be able to connect you at SC Competes with these industries. SC Fraunhofer Alliance, you are actually going to get a much better deep dive into this at our next webinar, but I wanted to make sure that everybody was aware that SC Fraunhofer Alliance is under South Carolina Competes, as we work with the Department of Commerce and Fraunhofer out of Germany. And it is one of our ways to be able to provide a matching fund for eligible projects. So I recommend checking it out, learning a little bit more about the process on our website, but then also joining us next month for learning more about them as they speak at our event. If you are not on our SCAN website and you are a tech, aerospace, or logistics company, please visit our SC Competes website and log yourself. This is our way of knowing who's here in the state. NACE codes sometimes don't tell us everything about companies, especially tech companies, right? There's not enough broad information. So we want to learn who you are in tech. Are you in AI? Are you in SaaS, healthcare, life sciences, consulting, etc.? And this SCAN website allows us to do that. We also have our Cap Carolina resource guide. This came from the success of last year's webinar, where we realized there was a lot of resources in the state that people maybe didn't know about. So we started to capture that all in one place. This is a growing, ongoing guide. So I ask you, if you see something that's not, or you don't see something on there and you're like, oh, you're missing out, please send me a message. I'm adding things every month. Re-editing it, cleaning it up, always working on that. But always want to hear what should be put on there and advice for how we can make this a better resource for everybody that's on this call. And that really is the kind of summary. There's so much that we do at SC Competes, but I really wanted to kind of put it through the lens of how we can help an entrepreneur, especially in the technology sector. We're always looking for ways to support your work and your growth. So please stay connected with me and reach out to me via email. One of my favorite parts of my job are meeting you and getting to know you and hearing about your stories. And so with that being said, I'm going to go into why we are here today. So again, thank you to everyone for joining us and our speakers today. This is kind of a quick tap into meeting some resources that are in our state. So everyone's going to have about 5 to 7 minutes to discuss what they bring to the table when it comes to supporting entrepreneurs. And then at the end, we'll have an open Q&A for everybody to answer and go from there. So first at the table is going to be Cliff with Cultivation Capital. So I will let you take it from here.
Great. Thank you for having me, Jamie. It's a pleasure to be here and share a little bit about our firm. My name is Cliff Holekamp, and I'm the managing director and co-founder of Cultivation Capital. We're an early stage venture capital firm. We were founded in 2012. We've got just about by now $450 million of assets under management, and that's broken out into 4 different areas of focus. So we have funds in 4 sectors: in software tech, in life sciences, health tech, in ag tech, and in geospatial technology. We also have a seed stage strategy which crosses these different areas. So our very first fund was our software tech fund, and we're currently on fund 4. And our newest fund is the geospatial fund, where we're on our first fund. You can go ahead and advance to the next slide. Just a little bit about our team. I won't go into all the bios, but you can kind of get a sense. We have a pretty large number of partners because of our specialization in these different areas. So we recruit industry experts in these different fields, and we build investment strategies around the talent that we have, amongst those partners. Also, something that makes us a little bit unique is we have pretty deep bench in our admin staff, including 2 general counsels. So that means that we're frequently in a position to lead rounds. And I know that can be a big issue, finding a firm to be your lead investor, because it does take more of a legal investment and a time investment for our firm to serve as a lead. And we're in a good position, even with small round sizes, to provide a lead investment. Next slide. Little things about make us different. Relatively speaking, we maintain smaller funds. They tend to be in the $30 to $75 million range. We focus on early stage. Our research has shown that early stage investments have a higher return on investment than later stage investments. Of course, there's more volatility in that, but on average, there's a higher ROI. We're also very active. With the exception of our seed stage fund, we do take board seats in just about every company that we invest in. And we take a great sense of responsibility to do everything we can to help and be involved to the degree we can. It is important to clarify, we're not a private equity firm. We're not looking to take control of your company. We are looking for strong leaders who are in a position to lead, but we are here to help and serve on their boards and be a sounding board, be a connector in any way we can. Next slide. These are just few case studies of example companies that we've invested in the area of ag. We invested in a company called Covercress, which developed a new kind of oil seed crop that is a winter crop that soy and corn farmers can farm in the winter, and they use the oil from that winter cover crop for jet fuel. And we ended up selling that business to a conglomerate of companies, including Chevron. So it was kind of interesting to see the combination of ag and energy coming together in one company. Another interesting company called DealCloud, based in Charlotte. DealCloud is software used by deal-making companies like private equity firms, venture capital firms, M&A groups. So maybe some of the other investors here on this call might be potential DealCloud customers, or maybe already are. We even use it in our own firm. So it's fun to invest in something where you can eat your own dog food. And then the last one is fun because it's the first investment we ever made turned out to be a unicorn. It's a company called Gainsight, and they pioneered the field of customer success. In fact, they coined the term customer success, if you're familiar with it. It's a platform used by firms to retain their subscribers, to typically software firms. And we invested when it was a very small business, ended up selling it for a $1.1 billion valuation. I think maybe we should have stopped at one investment. We would have had the best track record of any firm, but we kept going. Next slide. A little bit of what we are looking for new portfolio companies. Typically revenue in the $500 to $3 million range. More specifically, our seed fund looks for companies in the 250 to 750 range, and all of our other funds are A round, and they're looking kind of in the 750 to 3 million range. Of course, we will break those rules if there's extraordinary circumstances. We are looking for a good history of growth, at least 2 times growth year over year. We care a lot about unit economics. It's something we're going to dive into. Is what's your business model? Is it a profitable business model? Is it repeatable? Is it scalable? We, of course, need companies that have robust opportunities for strong exit potential. And we're looking for significant valuation appreciation. And we're looking for strong founding teams. We do not want to run your business for you. We're here to help. We're not here to do it. And so we really want strong leaders who have a vision, who we can back that vision and support them. Next slide. So that's the gist. I'm located here in Greenville, and I'm always happy to meet with any entrepreneurs in South Carolina. Even if you're not a perfect fit for one of our funds, I'm still definitely willing to take a look at what you're doing, offer advice, whether it be about fundraising or any other topic. Definitely, we see a lot of deals. I'm involved with a lot of companies, and love helping other South Carolina businesses.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Cliff. And if you have a question for Cliff, feel free to put it in the chat now so that you're remembering it and kind of putting it there, and then we can get to that at the end. Taking advantage of time to really get one-on-one in a way with these speakers. I take advantage of that and ask those kind of burning questions that I know a lot of you ask me all the time. Now you have the experts in the room, so be sure to log those questions. Cliff is really well connected and works in the ecosystem, and he works a ton with our next speaker today, with Matt Bell with SCRA, and I'm going to let him take it from here. So all you, Matt.
Got to come off mute. Thank you, Jamie. Appreciate you inviting me here as well. Hi, guys. My name is Matthew Bell. I'm the Executive Director of SC Launch Inc., which is the investment affiliate for SCRA. I'm going to talk to you a little bit about our investment activities in the space and go through kind of the same thing like Cliff did with kind of what's our thesis, where do we invest, and how do we go about doing it. So next slide, Jamie. SCRA as an organization, we focus on the tech economy within the state, and we excuse me, we have some teams focused really in 3 different areas, with one team focused on the universities across the state, not just the big 3, but really all of them, in terms of commercialization of technology and moving it out into the space. We've got another group that works with industry, and that could be smaller companies all the way up to Bosch and BMW, working on technologies and adoption of technologies and introduction of technologies for some of our smaller companies as well. And then finally, the launch program and the launch investment program, Launch Inc., work on the entrepreneurship community. And I'm going to focus on the green circle right now with launch. There is a presentation in the next seminar on some of the that's going to go into it more detail, but right now I'm going to focus on the investment activities. Next slide, please. Within the program, we do a lot of work around coaching, grant funding, and networking and market support. These are for companies that are really pre-revenue and pre-investment, is really focused on getting them ready for investment. So we do a lot of work on capitalization, planning, networking, finding management teams and strategy. Myself and another individual really focus on the bottom right corner, which is the investment activities. And the intent is to have those companies go through the support activities as needed and get them ready and then bring them into the investment program. Although we have a lot of companies that just skip the earlier stage program activities and go straight in the investment program if everyone feels like they're ready to do that. So you can kind of plug and play as to where you should be based on the evolution of your company. Next slide, please. The intent of the investment program is really, it's about a $250,000 to $300,000 investment, and for many companies that's a good investment, but not good enough to get them through the valley of death right there. So really our focus is on finding ways to assist with follow-on funding coming after our investment so that you can capitalize the company and scale it. We're also focused on syndicate rounds. So a lot of the people on the call here, we co-invest with and work with actively in terms of companies they're working on or companies we're working on for investment purposes. We also do returns on investment. We are a nonprofit fund, so we're not looking for a major return like some of the venture funds are. However, we do want to recapitalize the fund and keep it going. And the hope is that 10 years from now, the fund is still active and running. And so we do look for a return on investment. We can do up to 3 investments into a company. And usually the first investment we focus upon, is this company that fits the mission? Is this company that has the potential for follow-on funding? And then for the second and third investment, we're really focused more on what's the return potential for this company as it gets into the scaling phase. Next slide, please. We're looking for South Carolina-based companies. We're looking for technology companies. It's what we do. We don't do consumer products. We don't do service plays. We're really focused on technology companies within the state. And we're looking for companies that can scale. Jobs is one of our primary metrics for success, and we want to see companies that can really scale. We broadly invest into a variety of platforms in alternative energy, information tech, life sciences, and advanced manufacturing. And we've got team members who have experience and backgrounds in each of these areas and can support these companies in a variety of ways. Next slide. Investment process, like I mentioned, usually 200 to 300K. A lot of the investment rounds we're doing are seed stage. Typically rounds are anywhere from 750 to $1.5 million once we get the other syndicate partners in. So we are investing with other people to do larger rounds, which is really nice to see within the state. We typically do about 10, 11 investments annually. And we have a quarterly process where we review the companies and get them ready to pitch before the board. For us, our investment committee is our board, and you can go on our website and see who's on that board, but they're the ones who actually are authorized to allocate the capital. And so we do a lot of work for prepping for that process. We're also spending a lot of time in the last year working with our companies we have invested on Series A. I've spent a lot of time working for getting our companies to Venture Atlanta. We're actually a sponsor for Venture Atlanta. in order to get that follow-on funding opportunity. We also work with CED in Raleigh, and we work with Seed the South in Raleigh. So there's a couple of conferences that we attend and support our companies at, but we also have built a network of venture capitalists in the region that we interact with on a regular basis on Series A, so that once you get through our process, we've kind of set you up for a network that's regional in basis for the Series A investments. I think, Jamie, that's it.
Perfect. Thank you
Thank you.
so much. Appreciate it. Like I said, add your questions in there. We'll have Megan with SCRA in our August to go into even more details because SCRA does hit on so many things. We like to kind of have two different opportunities for them to be able to kind of divide and conquer to talk about what they're doing. So thank you so much, Matt. And now I'd like to welcome Ron Connors with SC Apex Accelerator.
Thank you for the opportunity to speak today, Jamie. It's truly appreciated. Good morning, everyone. As mentioned, I am Ron Connors, the State Director for the Apex Accelerator Program. I've been in this role for a little more than 4 years, and I'm excited to share the government-focused contracting and funding opportunities for you. First things first, if you have not heard about our program, please allow us to introduce who we are a little bit in a little more detail. Jamie, next slide, please. The South Carolina Apex Accelerator, formerly known as a PTAC, is a Department of Defense funded program that's been in place since 1985. Overall, our purpose is to educate small and large firms in understanding how to do business with the federal, state, and local governments, as well as introducing them to the many opportunities that isn't really known by the masses. Let's all be honest here. The government has always made it easy to do work with them, right? We all agree to that, right? Maybe, maybe not. If not, that's why we are here. Since we know that there may not always be the case in contracting, this program was established to help lessen the pain in the contracting marketplace. Overall, the years, the DoD supply chain has significantly diminished, whereas government is very committed to reestablishing those partnerships with small businesses, as they are the key to creating, maintaining, protecting, expanding, restoring, and sustaining domestic industrial-based capabilities essential for national defense, but to also include the various needs of state and local government. If you are not aware, the federal government is the biggest spender in the world, but state and local governments have a pretty big wallet as well. Next slide, please. From September 2021 to today, we have approximately 2,000 clients located in South and North Carolina. 90% are South. We do currently assist North Carolina companies as well. We have clients in all 46 counties. As I mentioned, we are a no-cost program. Those clients have amassed approximately 450 million plus in federal contracts and 10 million in state contracts. Now, unfortunately, we do not have currently a system in place to track all contract awards. So those numbers are minimally represent the success of companies we provided some level of assistance to. Next slide, please. As our clients, we offer a myriad of no-cost services for companies interested in government contracting. From government procurement system, the federal government required SAM.gov, DIBS is the Defense Logistics Agency system, SCIS is the South Carolina procurement system. We assist with the registering of those systems and local systems as well, counties, cities, etc. They are within the purview of our assistance. We also assist with the various SBA certifications, state certifications such as DBE, MBE. We assist with marketing your products and services to government and prime contractors, understanding if and how government competes their procurement acquisitions, understanding the various purchasing thresholds. That's kind of like the foundation of how government procures. They're also brand name sole sources, emergency acquisitions, to include the laws applicable to how government competes. And we also offer various training opportunities because I'm a huge proponent of teaching people how to fish instead of just saying dinner's ready, like most of us may be used to. We don't consider ourselves experts, but we do consider ourselves resourceful instead. That's a better description of who we are and the services that we offer. Next slide, please. There are 21 critical and emerging key technology areas of particular importance to the Department of Defense, from AI to energy to robotics. If you have products and services that fall into any of these categories, DoD may be interested in doing business with you and could possibly fund your R&D and related operations. Next slide, please. As previously mentioned, there are many no-cost resources and funding opportunities that are available within the government contracting marketplace. The DoD has a funding program available to eligible businesses in the key critical technology areas. The SBA has a program designed to train business owners to become government contract ready, with the end goal resulting in success through federal, state, and local contracting opportunities. ATI manages various R&D collaborations that rely on small business innovators, entrepreneurs, etc. As previously mentioned, government contracts with small business and various methods such as sole sources, unsolicited proposals, other transaction authorities, etc. The MPP program is designed for small firms to partner with larger experienced firms, with the end goal of the smaller firm being in a better position to compete for larger government contracts. Federal laboratories and small business SBIR, STTR are R&D focused opportunities purpose for the commercialization ideas approved by the federal government. Next slide, please. There are other resources like Challenge Her, which is dedicated to small business, women or small business owners. The Manufacturing Innovation Institute, which is a public-private relationship partner to inspire innovation technologies. And there are several technology education training programs that connects forward thinkers in the manufacturing industry and DoD. Next slide, please. Phew, I don't know, that felt like a lot for some reason. I believe our slides will be shared with you. If you're interested in doing business with the government, please sign up for our no-cost services. Afterwards, we'll do our best to assist you in achieving your success in the government contracting marketplace. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Ron. I know that government contracting and contracting as a whole can be immediately overwhelming. And I have heard nothing but amazing things about people who have worked with Apex and how they've really kind of held the hand and made it a little less overwhelming. So if you don't know where you could potentially sit in the contracting or defense world, still reach out, because they do a wonderful job of saying, hey, this might not be your lane, but this could be. And so I strongly recommend, even though it could be a little overwhelming, a lot of letters, right, that you don't understand, but still do the reach out. His team is unbelievably kind and helpful. So thank you so much. And speaking of kind and helpful, I'm going to lean back over to Matt with Spindle, and you can take it from here.
Thanks, Jamie. My name is Matthew Gough. I'm one of the managing directors, Spindle Growth Ventures here in Charleston, with my co-founder and other managing director, Rich Estes. Next slide, please. So one of the big things that we're trying to solve for is bridging that startup gap. So some stats just to share with everybody. We start to think about the gap between an idea, early traction, and then what long-term success looks like. And that's where most startups falter or fail. And there's 4 key areas. And this data comes from Carta, from PitchBook, I think from Bloomberg as well. And one of the big issues is around product market fit. So 45% of companies that fail is due to lack of product market fit. And you know, every venture capital firm, every investor out there, they want to make sure and understand that you're going to have that product market fit. We also see and have I'm sure everybody has experienced over engineering of a product. And so oftentimes what happens is somebody has an idea and they start to go out and build product. Last week, Rich and I were having a discussion with another kind of early stage company, and they are spending all their time and energy in building a product, but they don't understand who their ideal customer is, how their product is going to fit, what pricing might look like, right? So over engineering is a big issue that impacts startups. And then of course, you know, team dynamics, again, for anybody who's on this webinar today and who's thinking about either starting a company or has a company, a lot of investors will ask the question around team, right? And you'll hear a lot, they invest in team. And so if you have misaligned team dynamics, right, 34% of companies struggle or fail due to gaps in both leadership, execution, and team dynamics. And then lastly, which is obviously pretty straightforward, which is around funding, right? You need the capital, you need the gas in the tank to be able to do the roadshow. And so oftentimes companies will either not be able to raise the capital, they will run out of money because they've over-engineered, or they have invested in the wrong areas, and ultimately they can't get that product market fit. So next slide, please. So let's introduce the idea and a concept of a venture studio. They have been rapidly growing in the last couple of years. And, you know, to kind of explain what a venture studio is in maybe the simplest terms, it's an organization or a group that helps build companies, right? So it's not just capital. So you'll have seed groups, angel groups, VCs, and there'll be capital partners, but it's all around building the company, right? Venture studios also will help generate and test ideas. And so if you come to Spindle Growth and you say, I have an idea, I'm a subject matter expert, but I really don't know how to get this idea off the ground. What do I need to do, right? And so a venture studio will provide that hands-on execution, kind of cross-functionally. You know, it could be product, it could be marketing. Again, you know, how do we get to product market fit, some early revenue? Also at a venture studio, you have the opportunity to share those core resources across our portfolio companies. So a lot of times, if you have a young company and, you know, maybe it's bootstrapped, maybe you've done an angel or pre-seed or seed round, you may not have the capital to go and hire a chief product officer, chief marketing officer, or something like that, right? And so what's nice about the venture studio model is you can get these shared resources that the studio has at kind of the top level. And again, if you think about the slide previous around team dynamics and execution, you can actually tap into, I'd say seasoned entrepreneurs, seasoned operators. And ultimately what we're trying to do at Spindle and the venture studio model is how do we accelerate time to market? How do we de-risk companies? How do we de-risk investments, right? And one of the things at Spindle that we're really focused on and excited about is the ability to build multiple startups simultaneously. Myself and my partner, Rich, we're serial entrepreneurs, kind of repeat offenders in that sense. And, you know, we got to a point where we said, we don't want to build one company for 5 to 7 years and then another company. We're going to run out of time, right? So how do we stack these things up? How do we have lots of companies going? How do we access, you know, this really amazing operator network to help de-risk and to grow those? Next slide, please. So again, we're based in Charleston, South Carolina. I would say for anybody on the call today, please feel free to reach out to us. We're excited to not only build out of Charleston. We had a great opportunity to drive up to Greenville and meet with Shay and his partner Scott at Founderville, which you'll hear about next. They're doing some amazing things there. But at Spindle, we're really excited about how can we unify South Carolina and really build the next great companies. Next slide, please. So one of the things that we've done at Spindle, which we're really excited about, is creating this framework. You know, we've seen a lot of companies out there. We've been a part of a lot of companies, and it's kind of haphazard sometimes, right? Again, if somebody has an idea, they're a subject matter expert, but they don't really know the steps to go through. And again, my earlier example is you get people who skip right to step 3 and they say, okay, let's go build a product because I feel like there's a problem. But there's a lot of things that need to happen before that. So we've built these proven kind of playbooks and systems and frameworks, again, to how do we de-risk, how do we compress time, and how do we accelerate that growth? Next slide, please. I'm going to walk you through, and this is not comprehensive in any way, but so stage 1 for us is around the ideation stage. And what we talk about internally is it go, is it no go, or is it pivot? And so we go through a process where we look at, you have an idea, what's the market opportunity? How would we get it out there? What's the competitive landscape? How would you price it? What's the partnership ecosystem look like? Who are some potential acquirers, right? And then who are the active investors in that space? And again, a lot of people just go kind of straight to stage 3, which is let's go start to build something before we have a clearly defined understanding of what this looks like. So we go through this ideation phase, and then stage 2, next slide, please. So stage 2 is how do we operationalize this? So, okay, we have an idea. We believe this is unique and we think we can do something. So now we have to really start to think about, and by the way, these are not in any specific order as far as legal's not top and capital needs are bottom, right? But you need to start to think about things around, you know, how do you set up the company? What does that look like? Is it a Delaware C Corp? Is it an LLC? All those different things. What kind of branding, if you start to think about your audience? Obviously, product. We really focus a lot, by the way, on B2B AI-driven companies. And so you'll hear me talk a lot about product roadmap and what that looks like. But we really define what does a product look like, and what is that, proof of concept where we can get that in the hands of our users, our early adopters, to go and get the feedback from them of, are we on the right path? Is this solving the problem that we think you have, right? So we go through that process. Oftentimes, what we'll do is we'll actually do a UX UI prototype in Figma, and we'll build that out. And then we'll go and we'll actually sit with prospective clients and say, this is what we're thinking. Does this make sense? And you'll get some amazing feedback before you even write one line of code, right? And earlier slide on the bottom, it said, we want to build capital efficient businesses. Well, one way to do that is to really listen to your prospective customers right up front, and that's that market feedback. And then obviously from that, capital needs are important. And so we'll start to think about and build, it could be pro formas, it could be operating budgets and what that looks like. Next slide. So then what we do at Spindle is we move to this kind of stage 3, which is, okay, so stage 1 was the idea, stage 2 was the operationalize. And then the third piece of it is, okay, now we actually need to go start to build stuff, right? And that's where that heavy lifting really starts. And that's everything from the design of the products, all of the documentation, and that's everything from, GitHub repositories, Confluence, Jira, so on and so forth. What kind of team, what kind of technology from a platform decision perspective. And then a lot of times people will just take a product and go, okay, it's done, let's go get some feedback. And we take a very deliberate approach around early adopters and beta feedback. And we tend to take a little bit longer in that phase, because ultimately what we're trying to get to is both case studies from clients. We want to get people that are champions for the product and for the company. And we'd rather, I would say, stumble with a handful of early beta folks than, try to launch it to the world and then we find out that, we're missing something. Next slide. And then lastly, it's around the, how do we launch everything from go-to-market, case studies, so on and so forth. I know I'm running low on time here. Next slide. And then we get to really, how do we scale it? And that's what every investor, every venture capital firm, they want to know, what's your repeatable sales model? Cliff talked earlier about unit economics, your customer acquisition costs, lifetime value. What are all these things? And then how does that lead towards both growth and also exit opportunity? So next slide and last slide, I think. So if you're interested, my partner, Rich Estes on the left, my name is Matt Gough on the right. You can hit us up on LinkedIn. Spindlegrowth.com is our website. And really at this point, we're excited just to talk with anybody who has, whether it's an idea or you're in the early stages of a company, or you could be a little bit later stage and you're stuck. We've got one company we're working with today. They've been around for a number of years. They're doing well, but they're stuck to be able to kind of scale the company. And so we're helping with that. So hit us up on LinkedIn. Jamie, thank you very much for having us.
Fantastic. Great presentation, Matthew. And I love that you noted that you guys are working with Shay. Nothing makes me happier than promoting the fact that we are in a lot of ways, we are a small, accessible state. So we should be, the Greenvilles of the world should be working with Charleston, and Beaufort should be working with Augusta. And so the more that we can do that type of work, I think the better our entrepreneurs are going to benefit from it, just being knowledgeable of knowing that there's resources everywhere. So I'm excited to hear that.
Absolutely. Thank you.
All right, Shay, you're up with Founderville.
Hey, awesome. Thank you, Jamie. Appreciate it very much. Good morning, everybody. My name's Shay Hauser. I'm one of the co-founders of Founderville and the Startup Residence Program. You can hit the next slide, please. So Founderville is a Greenville-based pre-seed and seed venture capital fund. We invest specifically in early stage B2B SaaS, application AI. We're currently investing through a $6.5 million fund that we raised in 2023. We raised that $6.5 million from 45 Greenville-based investors. Our mandate and our thesis is former Greenville founders investing in the next crop of Greenville founders. So it's a group of people that have built companies, that have started companies, that have sold to private equity, that have sold through IPO, whatever it might be, and we try to add value that way. In a perfect world, if everything goes swimmingly, we'll be able to raise another fund next year. We haven't started that process, but the goal would be to raise somewhere between 15 and 20 million to concentrate on vertical SaaS and application AI. What's different about us is we're investing exclusively in Greenville at the moment. And I know that probably rules some people out, but that is the mandate and that is the focus. We want to work hands-on. We're active investors. We like to say that we work belly to belly and eye to eye. We've placed 4 C-level execs at 9 of our investments. There's no fee for that. We just do that work on the company's behalf because we think we can add value that way. And ultimately, we think we've got proprietary deal flow to provide first check opportunity in companies through what we call the Startup Residence Program, which I'll talk about a little bit later. Next slide, please, Jamie. So my name's Shay Hauser, as I mentioned. I'm a founder. I'm an entrepreneur. I got in venture capital maybe the hard way. I don't really know. I don't really consider myself a venture capitalist. I'm an operator, and I've built companies, and that makes me hard-headed, and it gives me a lot of battle scars. And I try to bring some of those battle scars to the table with the investments that we make, and typically can spot patterns maybe in ways that early stage founders can't. And that's how we try to add value. Next slide, please. My partner is Scott Millwood. He's a multi-time founder. Now he's bootstrapped both his companies. I, on the other hand, have always raised capital. I've raised plenty of venture capital and private equity and done the IPO route, so I understand it well. Scott has also done an IPO, but he bootstrapped both companies and had very successful exits, both of which went to Hitachi America. So we have a different perspective on capital formation, which we think adds value. We don't think every company needs to raise outside capital. As Cliff talks about in many of his presentations, there's a lot of ways to finance your company, and venture capital is just one of those, and it's not always the best fit. So I think as you guys think about raising capital, make sure if you want to get venture capital, make sure that really is the right approach for you, because there are other alternatives to succeeding in building your company. Next slide, please. So our strategy is building out what is called the Startup Residence Program. We believe that there's tremendous opportunity to build companies in the upstate of South Carolina. We want to recruit companies that are building vertical SaaS and application AI throughout the region. We want to get people to Greenville. We built a network of regional service provider support groups. And this is everything from law firms to accounting firms to bookkeeping firms to UI, UX, whatever it might be. And we want to smother our companies, the companies that come here, with provider support. We're doing this through a 3-way partnership with Furman University's Hill Institute for Innovation and Entrepreneurship and a 27,000 square foot co-working space called Flywheel Co-working. So our model is a little different in that it feels a lot more like a studio model. It's not quite to the level of what Matt and Rich are doing at Spindle, but we're also not hands-off venture capital. We're much more active, as I mentioned earlier. That doesn't mean we want to run the company. It has nothing to do with that. It's just we're investing in an early stage, and we want to bring our experience to bear to help you think about how to scale the business, how to think about capital, how to think about building out the most important thing, your go-to-market strategies, how you're going to get to product market fit, because we're typically investing before there is product market fit. So our diligence process is deep with the individuals. We back the team. We don't back the product or the service. The product and service is obviously important, but we also know it's going to change dramatically over the coming 3 or 4 years after we make the investment. So what's important for us is the team in humility and coachability and attitude and aptitude. So that's what we're looking for. We make highly concentrated bets given our thesis and our mandate. We're not investing in 30 or 40 companies. In fact, this fund will probably have a total portfolio of 14 to 15 companies when it's completed. Next slide, please, Jamie. We think our competitive advantage is that we are here in Greenville. South Carolina is obviously an amazing place to build. We want to ultimately build all over the state. That's what our second fund would do. But the current fund we're building here in Greenville. We like to meet in person. We don't like doing Zoom. We like to spend time at coffee and really get to know each other and really understand the company as best we can. Our limited partners, the 45 investors in Greenville, are active in our fund. In fact, I got an email from one this morning who wanted to see the financial statements from some of our investments so that he could spend time with them pro bono to help them think through capital planning. So that's typically how our investors operate. They like to be a part of the companies. They like to add value. They like to help recruit as well. Next slide. So the Startup Residence Program, we're working to recruit companies to the upstate to build here. We're taking 3 companies this year. Okay, we're going to guarantee a $100,000 minimum investment in each one of those 3 companies. We're providing free office space for the entirety of the program, which will be at least 1 year, but probably more. We're working on affordable housing so that we can help supplement your housing expenses. And I'm going to convince the city of Greenville to provide moving expenses, although they haven't committed to it. I just say it out loud, and that means that it's going to happen. At least that's the theory that I've used in the past. It's just a pressure tactic, right? So we want to build here. We want to grow here. We want our founders living together, building together. And through that, we're going to customize a program for each company. Some companies might need help on building version 2 of their software, and we're going to help focus exclusively on that. Other companies may have finished out version 2 and they need help with product market fit, and we're going to help with that. But the goal is to build and insulate the companies here to provide all the resources that the companies need to scale. Take our initial 100,000 in capital and leverage that to get a little bit of momentum. And ultimately, the big picture is scaling these businesses to $1 million in ARR. That is the underlying goal that we have in this product. If we can build here and scale to $1 million in ARR, it gives venture capitalists like Cliff an opportunity to potentially bite off some of these investments that we're scaling here. As I mentioned earlier, we invested in early stage, and what that means is 2 founders working full-time on the business, a handful of customers generating at least $15,000 in annual ARR, a B2B SaaS focus, or vertical AI. If that is what you're doing, then we're interested. We're still actively investing. We've invested in 9 companies with $4 million invested thus far. We're working on 2 investments right now and a $100,000 addition to 1 existing investment. So we're still active. That being said, we think the fund will be fully invested by the end of this year. We won't be making any new investments out of this current fund after the end of this year. So thus the need to raise a second fund for us, and some of our focus will move towards that towards the latter part of this year. So that is the Startup Residence Program. And I don't know if I have another slide or not, Jamie.
You do not.
I do not. Thank you. Hopefully that was a good time.
That was great, Shay. No, that was perfect. I'm going to break my own rule though and ask you a question. You said that right now you're only focused on the Greenville. Is it worth, if somebody is outside of the region, to reach out to Founderville and connect and let you know what they're doing at this point, or more wait to see what the next fund involves and things like that?
No, reach out to me. Two things. One, I'll talk to any founder at any time about anything. I'm happy to add my perspective. And if we do succeed in ultimately raising a second fund, the thesis of that fund will not only be Greenville, it will be statewide, it will be region-wide. So it could be a possibility that in this time next year, we have another fund and we're able to make investments from that fund in companies across the state. It's just, like you guys raising capital, I got to go raise capital.
Wonderful. Thank you, Shay. I appreciate it. I knew that was the answer, so I asked it.
Yep, sure.
All right. Start thinking about your questions before we end right here with one of our last speakers. So I just want to introduce Mackenzie and let her take it from here. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Jamie. Good morning, everyone. My name is Mackenzie Cruz. I am technically a partner with Yellow Ventures, but Yellow Ventures is the contracted entity brought on by Jetta to manage the South Carolina SSBCI capital program. SSBCI is just another fancy acronym. State Small Business Credit Initiative. So this is a federal program. Next slide. It was a federal program. I think that's actually the following one, but our sponsor within the state is JEDA. That's the Job Economic Development Authority. And at the request of the South Carolina Venture Capital Authority, this is the designated investor group for South Carolina. So we are investing federal dollars that have been awarded to the state of South Carolina, all in the name of economic development. Next slide. So as mentioned, this was initially authorized, the program SSBCI, in 2010 under the ARPA Act. So I think that was under the Obama administration. And it had been reauthorized under the Biden administration. So $10 billion in total was granted to all of the states or jurisdictions, as Treasury likes to call them. And each state got awarded some money. You had to apply for that capital. And each state got to determine how they wanted to deploy that capital. Next slide. So specifically in South Carolina, the state was awarded $101 million. $50 million has been fully deployed on the loan participation program. What we're working on, and where Yellow Ventures comes into play, is helping deploy the $51 million on the venture capital side of things. So under the venture capital program, you can think of that as the big umbrella up top, and there's going to be two umbrellas that kind of dangle down underneath that. Next slide. So we have a fund investment program. So that's, again, one of our sub-umbrellas. The fund program is really designed for us at SSBCI and InvestSC to partner with other fund managers or emerging fund managers within the state that share our same thesis of investing in companies based in South Carolina. They must be headquartered here. In investing part of that $51 million, we would be an LP in the fund. And again, using that SSBCI funds to make investments just like we are on the direct investment program. So at the fund level, we're matching funds again at the fund level. So if GP is raising a $10 million fund, maybe we give them $2 million to be a part of that fund, to be an LP. So they would have to use our $2 million the same way that we are directly investing the rest of this capital. Has to share the thesis of South Carolina headquartered companies. At the deal level, in that second umbrella, is the direct investment program. So InvestSC would go on the cap table. We're making equity investments and functioning just like any other venture fund that you would apply to for funding. To date, we've deployed $4.1 million across 9 different companies. We syndicate with different groups across the state. The Palmetto State Growth Fund is one of them. We just collaborated with Shay and Founderville on another deal recently into Strata Platforms. So we're looking to partner with different groups within the state to help get this money out and find the good companies that we can scale and get an exit for the ecosystem. Next slide. So in the eyes of Treasury, they would like this capital to be catalytic. That's the best word that we use to describe the program. So if that means that being a lead for a price round that a company is having right now, we can do that. If being first money is into a round to help get other investors interested in the deal and get things moving and around, we can do that. So it's all about being catalytic. And the caveat with this is that we match private capital. So I guess that's where you could get that catalytic sense from. So we give commitments, and we'll give a letter of intent saying InvestSC has, gone through diligence. We're interested in committing up to, for example, $500,000. But the caveat with it and why it's catalytic is that the founder can take that letter of intent and go out to different investors in the state or out of the state and say, hey, InvestSC is committed to put in $500,000 in our example. I just have to raise that private match to that $500,000. So we match up to $1 for dollar in private capital. Next slide, please. So on the direct investment side, and I think that this is what you guys are mostly interested in hearing about today, but we match private funds at the deal level. So we can't match grants, no crowdfunding. Fortunately, we can't do SC launches dollars, even though we collaborate with them frequently. That's just because they're using state tax and we can't leverage that with federal dollars. It's up to a dollar for dollar match. Has to be headquartered here in South Carolina. We're industry agnostic for the most part in the deals that we're looking for, but we try to stay away from lifestyle companies, no illegal activities like gambling or cannabis activities. Remember, these are federal dollars, so we kind of have to comply by their rules. There's ideally revenue generating, but of course we get some pre-revenue companies, especially with MUSC and the life science businesses coming out of the hospital system. We only invest on convertible notes and priced equity rounds, and we will only lead priced equity rounds. Preferred offerings, C corporation focused. We don't typically take a look into LLCs. If you're interested in converting or are in the process, that's okay too, but we like to make our investment once you become an official C corporation. And our online application is linked on our website at InvestSC.com on the Founders tab, and we would love to hear from you. Get an application in. Next slide. I won't go too deep into the fund investment details, but just know that this is a match at the fund level. So we would be an LP, and it has to share the same investment thesis that we have over on the direct investment side of South Carolina-based companies. Next slide. Same iteration, online application at InvestSC.com, and let Jamie know if you have any questions. I'm happy to field some things through email.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Mackenzie. I appreciate that. And thank you to all of our speakers. I want to just tell everybody real quick, ask some questions. There is not a time that you can get into front of this many people that might be looking at pitch decks and answering questions. And when I'm meeting with startups, you usually have a million questions for what you should be doing. So I'm going to give you like 30 seconds to think about that question that you've been wanting to ask somebody who has this knowledge, and maybe drop it in there. And I'd like to say no stupid questions. And while I give you guys an opportunity to potentially come up with one or two really great questions for this group, I wanted to kind of give a couple of shout outs to this Carolina. We're really focusing more on the funding and kind of the really wraparound resources. But in the past, we have also focused on entrepreneurial co-working spaces and where you can really get in the room and meet with people. And so I just want to make sure that everyone is aware of that there's not limited to some of the ones I'm going to shout out, but they're all over the state. And what I like to say is if you were in Greenville, come down to one in Charleston. So if you were in Greenville and you were working with NextGen, who is going to have one of their large summits coming up this September, I recommend looking them up. Go down to the Harbor Entrepreneur in Charleston and meet some of the entrepreneurs down there. The Harbor Entrepreneur Center is going to be launching its first of its kind accelerator specifically focused on logistics and supply chain. So something new to kind of look at for what the Harbor is doing, but also making sure that you stop in the middle of the state and meet up with GrowCo, who's constantly doing great events and have co-working space. And then you have places like Emerge in Myrtle Beach, who has been doing a really great AI on the beach series. I'll actually be attending one tomorrow on AI. And then the Digital Corridors, Charleston, in Beaufort. And I go on to say, meet with other entrepreneurs. It's a 3.5-hour state. You can meet, you can greet, you can get to know each other. I think there's a lot of collaboration and connections that can be happening there. So that's like my shout out to some of the other resources you might not know about and want to and meet and kind of things like that. So let me see if I got any questions. Elaine was asking if anybody works with colleges, specifically with IT programs and cyber programs. No.
I mean, we have a group of individuals that work with the tech transfer offices and identification of technologies coming off campus to be commercialized, but not specifically in cyber and the IT areas that I'm aware of.
I think to that question, is there better ways to get junior talent matched up with startups. Do you think that's a place that is a missing element of the fact that we are starting to develop junior or younger talent right out of college or right out of maybe some Build Carolina kind of programs like that? Do we think there's any gaps that could be filled with connecting, younger talent with these startups? Any thoughts?
For personal experience, I would say absolutely, because I have a 23-year-old son who's got a degree in IT looking for a job now. So, but I think there's a shortage of internships out there, and I think the kids are more willing to work than they are in terms of revenue, income. That obviously plays a part, but I think that they're looking for experience and expertise. And I think getting lined up in that January, February, or probably September timeframe for internships is a good way to go, and contacting the offices. We took 2 interns on this year, and I found it very easy to work with the recruitment offices for internships. It was a simple process. It's very straightforward. They told me, even in terms of kind of the salary and the time frame and how many hours a week, they had all that worked out. I would encourage you to look at that as a possibility.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Does anyone work with HBCUs, specifically any of the accelerators that the HBCUs are doing? She and Millicent is looking for mentors. Anyone working in the mentor world that could share those with some of the work they're doing? No, silence.
Let me share. Melissa, I just learned that Savannah Nuclear, they have an MPP program, and they actually have an opportunity for HBCU to be a protege within their amended protege program. I'll connect with you offline to share the information. That's something that interests to you, but that's all I have to offer at this time.
Perfect. And Melissa, reach out to me. I might have some options too of some mentors, especially through the Women in Tech lens, that are looking to get more involved and may be able to come up to some of the HBCUs and support that. So reach out to me. One of the main questions, which I think is no surprise that we got, is if you're willing to share your email to our speakers. I saw that some of you did, but I never like to give out emails. I'm very protective of your information. So if you are willing to share your email, and you can drop that in there, or if you have something you'd like to email me to send out to the participants today, you can do that via email. But I never like to share anything unless approved. All right. Oh, thank you, Brian, for noting there that Brian with Saltgrass mentioned that he does mentor, and actually they're going to be speaking at next week's event. Make sure I didn't miss anything. Thank you for putting your emails in here, everybody. One last question before we kind of end out, but Tim wrote, this is mostly kind of talking about the private investment. Is anyone here more familiar with public grant resources, local, state, and federal, for any renewable energies? Anyone can kind of note on that if they are familiar with any that we should be kind of getting connection with or contacting?
I can't speak to specific to that area, but one thing you may look into is SBIR and STTR programs for early stage innovation. And we do have a group called 3-Phase, which you should all be aware of, that does support for SBIR, STTR applications. And these are small federal grants for early stage startups. I'm sure there's probably a program in this specific area there, something to check out.
I was going to say the same thing. And 3-Phase is actually speaking in the August event. So there could be some questions that you can land there.
Great. Thank you, Matt. Thanks, Jamie.
No problem. And I would also just, this is not they're not a grant program, but SC Nexus is the our energy kind of focused organization through South Carolina Department of Commerce. So just keeping up with what they are doing, I think, is going to be very a resourceful kind of need for that. And then also following the SIBRs of what Joint Base in Niwik is doing. They do a lot of defense conferences in the Charleston area, and they are leaning more and more into energy.
Awesome. Thank you.
It's also, let me add, Jamie, I mentioned the technology areas of DoD. Renewable energy is on there. So send me an email and I'll share the information with you.
Great. Thank you, Ron.
Absolutely.
Perfect. Well, I'm giving everyone 20 minutes back on their day as we end a little bit early. And I know all of you can use that as entrepreneurs. So just a couple of shout outs. One is this has been recorded and we will put it up on YouTube and we will promote that and push that out. So keep an eye out for that. Two, please join us on August 12th. It will be 8 brand new speakers. So we're really excited about the fact that we can kind of dig even deeper into the resources and we have here. So please share this with your other friends in the entrepreneurial world. And then we ask everybody, tickets officially went on sale for our fall summit as of this morning. So there's early bird ticket opportunities, and we're really going to be focusing hard on the AI and the technology solutions. A lot of hands-on community conversations are going to be happening at this year's fall summit. So we're really excited about that. And there's a scan code there if you're looking. We're going to be in the Greenville area. No better place, I think, to be in September is in that Greenville upstate area. So I'm really excited about that. Please reach out with any questions. We're happy to help. We're here to help. So excited about the great turnout today. And I want to give a big thank you to all of our speakers. And I will be sharing the deck with the people that showed up today. So thank you so much and have a wonderful day and week. Thank you. Bye, everybody.
Thanks, Jamie. Bye-bye.